Morning, all. We are a little delayed, but we are about to start in a few minutes.
Andres on.
And
Thelma Smith.
for those who are online and those who are
Dana.
present at the chapel, we welcome you all. And I'm happy to see that you made the effort to turn out. We have been having this, we usually have a health fair, but because of the changing environment with the pandemic, we have switched to a health forum, and I'm happy that we're still getting your support. We have persons here today, and I'm just curious, you know, if you can, somebody can stand up, or a few of you can stand up and tell us why you're here and your expectations while we, before we get into the meat of things. Is there another mic?
Denise. All right.
Oh, bring this.
Show the people them who want this full up.
Morning. Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Rose Robinson Hall, and I'm a member of this church, Swallowfield Chapel. And first of all, let me commend you on your decision to hold these health forums. I'm here because I have a particular interest in healthy aging, and I lead the seniors ministry here at Swallowfield. And when I read of the opportunity to get certain things checked, I decided to come, and some five of my members of, could you just wave, please? Oh, those are members of the Kingdom Builders, that's the seniors ministry here at Swallowfield. And we look forward to getting the certificates because there are certain, we have a quarterly clinic, but we don't get some of the things done with regular normal health checks done at those times. But something like body mass index, dental care, we don't have those. So we're expecting to benefit from the certificates, and we look forward to getting early appointments to have those things done. Excellent. And let me commend you again on the decision to have this health forum.
Wow, we have a very informed participant.
Yes.
And her expectations are all that we hope to fulfill. Thank you, ladies, for coming, for the presenters. I hope you heard what she said. One of the things she said was that they are looking to get information on the aged. And I hope we can meet your expectations in all that you have. Welcome and thanks for coming. Anybody else wants to make a comment? Anybody else wants to say anything?
Okay.
And can I remind you, for those persons who are viewing on YouTube, the chat is open and you can make your comments and we will respond accordingly.
Last year, we were not able to host our usual health fair due to the pandemic, but we are very happy this morning that we are able to pivot and to take on a new format. We look forward to serving you today, and we hope you find this session very, very useful.
Are we ready for an official start?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, so let me just welcome you again, one and all, those in the virtual space and persons who are present here with us. We thank you for participating in this virtual chat. And my name is Helen Rumbold. I'm going to be your host for this program. And to my right, we have Denise Diaz. So we will both be conducting this program. And I hope for it to be very interactive and that whatever it is, all your needs are and your expectations are anticipated. Go ahead.
Soroptimism was introduced into Jamaica in 1962 by renowned social worker, Mrs. Stella Gregory. The Kingston Club was the first to be established in 1962. So this year marks the club's 60th anniversary. Other chapters are now operating in Western Jamaica, Mandeville, Northern Jamaica, and in Mid-Eastern, St. Catharines. At this point, we will invite Soroptimist Dawn Campbell to say a prayer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. Let us pray. Father, this morning we want to thank you for life. We want to thank you for health. We thank you for strength. We thank you for bringing us here this morning so that we can serve. Father, we pray that you will continue to bless us as we serve your people. We pray, God, that you will bless the persons that are coming in. We pray for good health. We pray for strength. We pray, oh God, that they may come and enjoy and to be informed in these sessions today. We pray, God, that you will hasten the footsteps of those who are coming. We pray, oh God, that you will continue to shine light on us this morning as we are here to give you praise. Father, these and other mercies we ask in your holy name. Amen.
Thanks, Soroptimist Dawn Campbell. We usually say sister in our club. We are a sisterhood. And let me just backtrack to tell you a little about our club, Soroptimist International Kingston Club. It is a global volunteer movement which works to transform the lives of women and girls. It has a network of over 72,000 club members in over 121 countries and works at a local, national, and international level to educate, empower, and enable women and girls. And most of the activities that we have and the fundraising we have is really towards funding the activities of this club. And our focus, as we said, is to uplift women and girls in this country. So I am happy for your support, and I hope persons will take more interest in this club. You can find us you can Google us and find more information about the club, and we welcome you ladies to join the club because we are doing a wonderful work. We are small, but we are making an impact. So at this time now, we will have Sister Juliet leading the Soroptimist Pledge. Juliet Brown. Thank you.
I ask if you're able, let us all stand for the Soroptimist Pledge. I pledge allegiance to Soroptimism and the ideals for which it stands, the sincerity of friendship, the joy of achievement, the dignity of service, the integrity of profession, the love of country and all mankind. I will put forth my greatest effort to promote, uphold, and defend these ideals for greater fellowship in home, in society, in business, for country, and for God. Thank you. You may be seated.
At this time, I would want to invite to the podium the chairperson for the Health Forum Planning Committee, Dr. Eugenie Brown-Mary. Please put your hands together and welcome Dr. Brown-Mary.
Thank you, Soroptimist Helen. I would like to have the welcome done shortly, but our online audience is not seeing those of us who are in the face-to-face venue. So can you move forward for me and closer to the front and across the room so that persons can see that there are individuals here? Can you do that for me, sisters, back there? Just come forward, fill up the front seats for us. Great. That's looking much better. Good morning. Morning to all viewers, participants on Zoom, YouTube, and particularly those who are present face to face with us this morning. The pleasure is mine to welcome everyone to this Our Health Forum 2022. This Health Forum is a scaled down activity from the annual health fairs that the Soroptimist International of Jamaica Kingston Club, SIJK, has staged each year in commemoration of International Women's Day, as well as to promote one of the key program action objects of Soroptimist. The primary objective of our health focus is to increase access to health care for all. In keeping with this club objective, the SIJK has been involved with health fairs for over 10 years. For the earlier years, the club partnered with the Red Hills Citizens Association, and then in 2014, expanded the event to be the host and invited other collaborators and sponsors to partner. The health fairs became a feature event of the club. But with the COVID pandemic, we were unable to stage one in 2021. This year, we decided to have a presence with this scaled down event. I want to use this opportunity this morning to recognize some of our key partners who are part of the experience again this year with us. The National Health Fund, sponsoring several health screening services, which will be provided by the Diabetes Association of Jamaica after the event today and the days following. The College of Oral Health Sciences, which will be conducting dental services as a partner with the Soroptimist Club. MSN Pharmaceuticals, who is sponsoring some of the dental services. Food for the Poor, who has provided masks, sanitizer wipes, and other feminine items. Our presenters and demonstrators who are giving their services for free for us to have this forum today. The Swallowfield Chapel, where we are right now, who have provided our face-to-face venue and who have assisted in promoting the event. The Church of God of Prophecy, 47G Old Hope Road, which assisted with transportation and promotion. The Member of Parliament, Minister Julian Robinson, who is the MP for the Swallowfield, Nannyville, and Stadium Gardens communities. And he has been a partner on our health fair activities for the past 7 years. And for all other persons who have contributed by way of donations or in any other way, I say we appreciate your partnership. And so today, I'm excited that Health Forum 2022 is now a reality. A hearty welcome to all of you. Please enjoy the presentations, the services to be provided, and the giveaway later in our program today. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Soroptimist, Eugenie Brown-Mary. And from her presentation, I'm sure you have a more fulsome idea of what this health forum is all about. But before we go further into that, I would like to introduce to you the president of the Soroptimist International Jamaica Kingston Chapter Club, Miss Sis Sonia Black. Welcome her, please.
Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Great, great. So I really want to extend a hearty, hearty greeting to all the persons who are online or on site. We are really, really excited. We are very excited that this forum has really come to fruition. As you have heard, 2021 caught us a little off guard and we weren't able to move as quickly. But since then, we have mastered the space and we are doing both virtual and in person today. And I'm really, really proud of my club for being able to put on this event. As you have heard as well, this is not our first essay into the health field. This is something that we have been doing over the years, and consecutively, we have been doing this for at least 10 years. And so, you know, this is something that we believe is a service that's well needed, and the communities that we serve usually are very appreciative. And so we are happy that we are back. So this year, the theme is hashtag healthy living in the new normal. And the new normal means that we can expect change every day. You get up today and you're not sure what is going to happen. And so some of us are reeling under these conditions. We are having stress, we are having all sorts of difficulties. And some of these things, whether physical or economical, it really triggers over into the mental, and our stress levels are up. So I trust that this event is going to provide some sort of answers, some sort of hope, some sort of reality that you can, you know, really tap into. Now, this event coincides with International Women's Day. And we time it this way so that we offer this as a practical contribution in celebrating and honoring the cause of women here in Jamaica and all over the world. So we are a women's club, and we have been here since 1962. So if you can do the math, you realize that we are 60 years old this year. We have 5 clubs in Jamaica. Our chairpersons told you where they are. Any of you remember them? You might be asked further on in the program. So let me repeat it for you. Kingston, Mid-Eastern, which is in St. Catherine, Mandeville, Northern, which is in the surrounding of St. Anne's, and Western in Montego Bay. Try to remember them. So Soroptimist pursue the empowerment of women, as our mission is to improve the lives of our women and girls, to identify areas of need and working through targeted projects address these needs. We want to note that in pursuing our goals, we are also honoring our men folk, as we believe that when women do well, the family does well, and our country and the wider society does well. This health forum, we believe, provides valuable health information and much needed dental and medical services to all of you who are participating. We want to thank all our partners and volunteers whose work and full intent is to offer these services for the benefit of our fellow citizens. I thank the members of the planning committee for their hard work in getting this event going and putting all of this together. I trust that those in need of these services will join us and take advantage of this opportunity. It is not too late. Tell your friends, call them. We have giveaways, we have prizes, and most importantly, we have gift certificates to avail yourself of these services. So we are really ready and ready. We are going to have a wonderful time over the next 2 hours with interactions and sharing thoughts and useful tips and so on. Expect insightful conversations on health-related issues and the opportunity to ask questions of some experienced health and medical professionals. So, ladies and gentlemen, do enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. She has in her greetings recommitted our commitment to this community. She indicated that we have been doing this health fair for the past 10 years, and here we are again. We cannot do it in our normal style, but we are nevertheless here to offer you some form of service. Thank you, Madam President, and without further ado, we just will go into our program.
Good morning again, both in online and in person. I'm going to share with you the format for today's forum. So we are going to be having formal presentations, both face-to-face and online. We will also be having questions, and we will ask that you provide us with answers, which will provide you with prizes and surprises. I know if you're like me, you like to get prizes, you love the goodies, and I'm sure you're excited about all the possibilities. And these are manageable questions, so take note. She hinted that we might be asking you about the number of clubs that we have. Listen carefully, make notes, and so you're able to participate in our question and answer section. So let me talk to you a little bit about what we're going to be doing in short order. We have some presentations, and the first one will be on lifestyle measures to ensuring optimal health, practical demonstrations for health foods and exercise. This will be done by Soroptimist Binol Balachando and Mrs. Ronaldo Pearman. Our second session will cover preserving your mental health in challenging times. And you will all agree with me that 2020, 2021 were indeed very, very challenging times. I know for many of us, we are recovering from lockdown, from being in-house for so long. Just the chance to come out and to breathe and to see people this close is a wonderful experience. I am excited at this opportunity to do so this morning. And so we look forward to what these presenters will share with us. The third presentation will be on the importance of vaccinations in maintaining healthy living. And this will be done by Dr. Melody Ennis, which is the expert on vaccination from the Ministry of Health. Very sought after lady, and I expect that you will participate fully in this session. So I invite you to sit down wherever you are, here in front of me or at home, comfortably in your chair, and enjoy these informative sessions which will come to you right now.
Okay, so we are now going to start our lifestyle measures to ensure optimal health presentation, and we invite to the podium Mrs. Balachanda. And Mrs. Balachanda is a nurse by profession, and she's currently employed as a lecturer and Franchise Program Coordinator at the Caribbean School of Nursing, University of Technology, Jamaica. Her areas of specialization includes diabetic education, pediatric nursing, psychiatric mental health nursing, nursing education, nursing administration, and nursing practice. Binal is the president-elect of the Soroptimist International of this chapter. And may I present to you Mrs. Balachanda, a very well-rounded person in the area that she's about to present.
Good morning, all. Thank you so much, Mrs. Rombold, for that introduction. And I hope you all had your breakfast before coming here. Can you have the slides, please? No, I'm fine. Can I have a volunteer from the audience because the time is very limited. So I want to have an volunteer from the audience to tell me, what did you have for your breakfast? I'm not hearing you.
Didn't have any yet.
Oh, you didn't have any yet? Okay.
No, me a ripe banana, orange, a blue jazz, and a cup of tea.
Wow, nice. All right, how many ripe bananas? One and one orange and a cup of tea with milk. Okay, all right. And that's it. All right, so then do you all think that was a healthy breakfast? Oh, there was no protein in it. Okay, all right. So that means I'm going to go right into some of the things that we are supposed to do for keeping us healthy. And I'm also going to do some practical demonstration here to see what would be our ideal plate and how we can choose the right food. Okay, because I am sure that you are all tired of hearing this. Oh, you must exercise, you must eat right, you must do this, you must do this. We are not short of any information, right? But then how do we do that? How many of us can say that we know exactly what to do? And that's what I am here trying to help you out. Can you move the slides, please? It's not moving. All right. So I am going to give you some tips that will help you to delay development of diabetes, or those who have diabetes and hypertension, heart disease, and cancers, all of that. Maybe some of you have it, some of you don't have it. We can delay it or we can manage it, right? And you might wonder why I have sexual dysfunction with it. What's the reason? That doesn't go with all of this, does it? It does, right? Okay, that means if you have diabetes, hypertension, or if you, with the complication of that, if you have ever developed stroke, or that means if you develop stroke or heart disease, that means you already have the erectile dysfunction or sexual dysfunction. And you think it is only for men have it? Women also have it, right? So it can. So that means if you have diabetes, hypertension, or then eventually you can develop your heart disease, sexual dysfunction, and all the other stroke and all the other things. So how can we stay healthy? You don't have to grow old to start thinking about health, right? We can start from early, and that is the key. All right, then we all know that the prevention and management is healthy lifestyle practices, timely detection and treatment, and follow-ups. Can move fast, please. And all of us know, cliche dialogue, prevention is better than cure, right? And I'm repeating it, and which is very important. Go on, you can go on, please. Can you show me the the food plate? Yes. Look at the food plate and tell me, do you agree, or what are your thoughts on this plate? Tell me if you think this is a healthy plate. Is it? Is it? Raise your hand, those who agree that it is a healthy plate, please. Only one agree? 2, 3, 4? Okay. Now, look at the food groups. We have 6 food groups that we usually know about, because as I said, I'm not going into the exercise and the follow-up and the early detection, which is part of it, but I'm only focusing on the diet here, right? And how to choose the right portions. And look at that. You will see there, bread on the bottom of the pyramid, you will see the bread, cereal, rice, pasta, or the staples that we usually eat, which also include in our culture. We know we have the yam, banana, all of that, right? The roots, ground provisions. And then you have the fruits, vegetables, that is divided in half. And then you have the milk, yogurt, and the poultry, and all of that. Most of you have seen this pyramid. And can you interpret how to use this pyramid as a guide? When I learned this in nursing school, I thought I should eat 6 to 11 times this, plus 4 times the fruits and 5 times. Then I thought from morning when I wake up until I go to sleep, I should be eating. Because to finish all these things, how am I going to do that? That's what I thought. I don't know if anybody else thought that way. Seriously, I thought that's how it is. But then later I realized that that's not it. It is about servings. How do we know what is the right serving? If you know, 1 serving of starch or carbohydrate, right? Starch we call, is 15 grams of starch or carbohydrate. And how can you identify that as 15 grams? What do you think this could be? How many grams of starch it could be? 30 grams? Yes, almost, yes. It could be like 2 to 2.5 servings of starch. That means what? An average adult like us, we only need 2 to 3 servings of starch per meal. That means what? If you're eating breakfast, one of this, along with some protein. Can you go back to the, show the next slide, please? That the amount of protein that we should be eating is the palm size, right? Then, yes, that is the palm size. Fish or chicken. And if it is curry goat, stew, chicken, stew, peas, whatever, then you need to quantify. You might have to estimate how many pieces of that can give you a palm size of meat, right? One time. So what happens? We have this feeling that we can eat any amount of protein. It doesn't matter. We just have to cut the carbs. Isn't that the usual thoughts or information that we get? That's not always true. Even protein, once it is excess, it can accumulate within your body and can become fat. Okay, so make sure your activity is, if your activity is limited, you limit your food accordingly. If you, for like the young man like you might need a little more starch compared to me. I'm an old lady now, so I don't need that much carbohydrate or fat or protein. And you know that, you all know. And when we grow into the pregnancy, we all think, oh, I'm eating for 2, so I need to eat double the amount. Is that true? No, we don't need to. We just have to add maybe like 300 to 500 calories, the maximum. add to the normal diet that we have, right? And that too, mostly the carbohydrate and protein, but not much fat. Clear? So those understanding of how much that we can eat is key. And look at this now, 4 handful of vegetables we can eat one time. So if you look at the plates, I want to show you this plate now. I don't know if you can see this. You see a little, very small amount of rice here. And other side is full of vegetables. Half of the plate is vegetables. And you can see a small piece of chicken. This is a healthy plate. And that cup of rice is this. Surprised? Or how you must be wondering, how can I survive on this cup of rice one time? Nah, man, you need more. It can't fill your belly. So what you do? Drink a glass of water before you start eating. Eat your veggies first, fill it, and then you can't eat much. And the key to eating healthy is also eat slowly. Take at least half an hour to eat. Try it. If you eat slowly, like take one bite. We are not used to what you do. We can't, because we are hurrying, we are going here, we have to try. And I do that too, I'm not any different. I do that too because of the pressures that we experience in life pressure, family pressure, all the pressure. So we all do. I could lose some weight too. I'm telling you, I know everything, but I could lose some more weight, right? But sometimes we all go off track. We are human beings, but the key is to understand and try the best that you can do. And so these vegetables that you see, if you drink the water and eat the vegetables, can you eat more? No. And then another important thing for you to understand is that if you it takes 20 minutes for the brain to recognize that the food is in your belly. So when you are so hungry, some days you didn't get to eat anything. By evening when you come, you eat a hill of rice and 3 pieces of chicken, right? A hill of rice, that's what I call a hill of rice, right? And then when you finish eating, oh God, I just want to sleep, because you have given too much food that you really don't need. And so wait for 20 minutes. And if you still, that means when the belly is half full, you should stop eating. So, okay, that's key. We just can feel it, right? Yeah, we can feel it. And mind, we always want to eat a little more. Stop where you feel a little more. Don't eat that little more that you want to eat. That is the extra food that you're giving. Okay? Yes. And so the key is eat slowly and it fills your belly. And then eat the little rice and the chicken. Relish it, because you only have a little. So you're going to relish it. You want to eat more, but stop there. And that is key. All right. And then you will see a small apple here and a glass of milk. If you are diabetic, probably you have to leave that apple and the glass of milk for your snack between, because I'm sure this is not going to fill you up. You're going to feel hungry, right? So what can you do? And it is important that the insulin for those who are diabetic that is produced, it is continuously being produced, but it needs some time for it to produce, and the food need to be there for it to be stimulated, right? So it produces some, especially those who are type 2 diabetes. You are not on insulin, you are taking tablet. You still have some insulin in you. It is being produced, but then if you give them so much food, the insulin is not enough to digest and to metabolize and to utilize it in our body. What happens to the rest? Goes into the bloodstream and say, your blood sugar is not controlled because you're eating too much at one time. Instead, what you can do is, you were planning to, okay, for example, some of us work and go out and you buy this small lunch. That small lunch is sometimes 2 or 3 cups of this rice, right? And the big lunch may be 4 or 5, right? That means that lunch is almost 2 lunches, or the big rice is the whole day's food in one plate. Key is to take out what you plan to eat into a different plate and eat, and leave the rest for later. Eat it, time it. If you're eating at 8 o'clock at breakfast, how many bananas, boiled bananas you want to eat? And this size, boiled bananas, green bananas. How many you can eat? 4 of them. All right, 4 is not too bad, but 3 to 4 for ladies, you can maybe eat, yes, 4 to 5 for you, young man, right? And for us, those who really want to lose some weight, limit with 2. 2 bananas for breakfast, plus remember the protein, vegetables, we forget about it. And then sometimes when I go to work, I don't go with the lunch many times due to time issues. Maybe you don't feel like going with some. I go with a piece of bag of peanut and I eat one of these banana. And my colleagues and also those who are seeing ask me, that's your lunch? What do you think? It's a snack, right? But in effect, this is equal to a lunch. And that's all I need. Because this is 1.5 servings of carbohydrate or starch. Is sugar? Yes, man. And then this has 1 serving of starch in it. We think this is only protein and fat, but this has starch in it. If you read the label, that is where we need to think about reading the labels. I'm going to show you one, and that will tell you exactly how to read your labels. Right, this one here, see? It says, whatever it is something that we buy, but this is the label for that. And that says 8 servings per container, serving size 2/3 cup, which is 55 grams. And look on that. You will see the fat, carbohydrate, and protein, and the vitamin minerals at the bottom. How much carbohydrate that you have from 2/3 cup of that, something that you are going to say, let it be cereal, 2/3 cup. Look at the carbohydrate that you are looking at, 37. And 1 serving of carbohydrate is how many grams? 15. And so that is 2.5 servings of carbohydrate that we are eating. All right. So then the fat. Okay. So it is clearly given. What we have to be aware is that these are the ones that we need to be looking at when we are buying. And those who are hypertensive, then now look at the salt. Do you think this has any salt? This milk drink? This is a food substitute that we can drink when we can't eat, right? And then do you think this has any salt? It does. And so you need to be aware of the calories, the salt, depends on your goal, because you might want to control your blood pressure, sugar, or lose weight. Check the labels. It is key to planning a healthy diet. And now I want to show you. This is 1 serving of carbohydrate. So if you eat 1 of this, 3 of this small apple, that's your lunch, carbohydrate. I'm not saying you're going to eat, but if you ever eat these 3, what happens sometimes we eat our healthy lunch, nicely made plate with 2-3 cups of rice and everything. And then I feel for a fruit. So you eat a fruit. So what are we really doing? Adding 2, on top of what we are eating, adding more carbohydrate. And what happens to that carbohydrate? Because we already ate too much, it goes to the bloodstream, and for those who are diabetic, it will become high blood sugar, and for others or for everybody, some of that is converted into fat and put it here, everywhere, right? And so that is what happens. Okay, yeah, time and done. Oh, okay. All right. So now, can someone from the audience come and show me now, based on what you heard? Prepare a meal plate for you, please, from this one. Let me see if you understood. Who is volunteering?
Sorry, if you don't mind to project, if you're standing there and answering, Mike, and you can just remove your mask that you can project.
Okay. Yes, you can come here and prepare. Come up, please.
Oh, she's gonna need a mic?
Yes.
Okay, no, keep your mic.
Okay. All right. You can prepare. Yes. Prepare your meal. You have all the food groups in there. A healthy meal for you. No, for one meal, not for the day, for one meal. No, it's okay. Any meal, because whether it is breakfast, lunch, or dinner, the amount, only thing, the variety of food differs, but the amount is the same, right? Fruit is there.
Okay, so I'm having...
Lift up, yeah. This is the plate that she has.
I'm having pork.
Yes.
And a green banana.
One green banana, okay.
Wait, there's more?
Okay, now I'm just saying,
Okay.
you could choose. Remember, there's potatoes, sweet potato, pumpkin, everything, if you want to choose.
I want pork, one green banana. I have apple. I have nuts. And I have juice.
Anybody want to come and prepare a different one, or you are happy with this? Happy with this? All right, come up and then change it if you're not happy. Thank you, dear. Come prepare yourself one for you. Anybody want to come up? Yeah, come up, please. All right, okay, yeah. You're not happy with this. Tell me why you're not happy.
All right, for me, I would remove the nut and maybe
You
add a
will
sweet
remove the
potato.
nuts. Okay. Why?
Because, all right, so it's for lunch, so I wouldn't want the nut. I would
Okay.
maybe add a sweet potato.
Okay,
There.
fine. Another reason I would remove the nuts is that this has a lot of salt. Do I need a lot of salt? Because I have here some pork that is processed already, which is salty. Do you want that 2 salts with it? No, too much salt. How much salt can you have per day? Per day, yes, per day. Can you show that slide with the salt, please? How much salt can you have per day? Half a teaspoon? Okay. You could have 1 teaspoon of, okay, go ahead and prepare. So you change. Okay. You could have 1 teaspoon of 5 grams is 1 teaspoon. Teaspoon is not a big spoon, you know, that is tablespoon, the small teaspoon. That is 5 grams of salt for the whole day. Think about now, how much salt are we all taking? And so that 5 grams is 2 grams of sodium. Ideally, we should limit our sodium intake to 2 grams, the max, 2 to 3, the maximum, right? But ideally 2 grams. Now, where can you, all right, now let us go back to the food plate. And here you have one pork, yeah.
1 banana, a slice of sweet potato, vegetables, and juice.
Okay, so you want to put it as a slice?
Yes.
Okay, so you will take half of it?
Sure.
Okay, but this looks okay because this is like 2.5 to 2 to 2.5 servings, and this is 1, so it is like 3, right? 3.5, so it's not too bad.
Okay.
But unless you want to lose weight. Okay, so if you want to lose weight, and then you have, this is like 2 to 3 servings of vegetables. You know, 1 serving is like half cup. So it's fine. And so then my problem now is the juice. Now you could have it. This is much healthy. And you have the pork because this is all we had. I got it because I didn't want to come with the fresh meat, right? It will stale. So this is why I got this pickled one. Ideally, that's not supposed to be, all right?
It could be fish.
But
right?
I just wanted, yes, it could be fish. I just wanted you to see the quantity. One of this is one-time meal portion. It's not both. It's not supposed to be both. It's one. Okay? Because I told you the palm size. And so this is 2. That means it is 2 palm size. You don't need all of that. Unless you are an athlete. Usain Bolt and Shelley and Fraser, and they all need more, right? When they are training. We don't need that much. All right. So this is those who are, I'm not talking about just the athletes. Some persons are very physically active. You know, they do the hard labor. They need more protein and carbohydrate. Of course, they are spending it. We, like me, I'm not spending much, right? Yes, because my job is not something that I need a lot of energy unless I am talking, or that's the most energy expenditure that I do. So I don't need a lot. Okay, so thank you so much.
You're
That is
welcome.
a healthy plate. That's a healthy plate, except that I am not happy with the juice with it, and which most of us can't avoid. So what is best? Water, because this one, how much calories are we taking with this juice? This is a small juice that is 200 mils or so. This is 80 calories, which is one of the lowest calorie juice that we can see. But when you buy those other juices, they are very sugary, and they have, and look at the carbohydrate content, and you are going to see. Can you show some of the labels, please? And this one now, this has 220 calories. And majority of the calories come from sugar, or the starch that we consider together, right, as carbohydrate. Okay. And look at this bread now. How many slices we used to eat? How many slices we eat on a regular day for a breakfast? 4, right? And that is 4 servings. 1 slice of bread is 1 serving of carbohydrate. So whether it is brown bread or white bread, it doesn't matter. Most of them have almost the same calorie. Yes, it's 1 serving. So if you, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. Sorry? Yes, exactly. Because that's what I'm trying to say. You have 2 slices of bread, so you're going to eat more often. It doesn't mean that after 1 hour, you're going to eat another 2 slices. No, you had to give at least 2 to 3 hours for the one that you ate to digest and then be utilized, and then you eat the next. So the insulin is now going to produce more, little more to digest and manage, to metabolize and absorb in the used by the muscles, right? And that's what is. Yes, but then, but that is why we have these in between. If you feel hungry in between, eat a cup of vegetables. Then the key is that most of us like to eat it with some salad dressing. What happens to it? That has a lot of fat and even carbohydrate, some of it. You know, the sugar and all of that is added. And then we all love to eat some of the baked chicken, right? You know, the sauce that is on it has a lot of sugar. That alone is one serving of carbohydrate, the sauce alone. And then again, coming to the peas, does it have sugar? Sugar? No, right? It is protein, everybody think, but it has starch. Yes, it has both starch, protein, and fat. So then, oh, I'm not eating meat these days, and I am cutting my carbohydrates. So I ate a little stew pea sunrise, and we are loading us with a lot of carbohydrate. That means if you are eating stew peas with the rice, be aware that we are eating carbohydrate and protein with it. Clear? Dumpling towers, though, no problem. Okay, the key is that there is nothing in the world that you cannot eat, even if you are diabetic. Everything that you can eat. Some persons think if you avoid sugar in the tea, oh yeah, good, because I don't eat no sugar in my tea. Or I drink the juice, I put some water and drink my juice. I don't drink it straight. Does it make any difference? As long as you're going to drink it all, it's going to be in you, right? So key is that how much are we drinking and what are we drinking? Look at the calorie count. So then the point I wanted to make about the juice, dumpling, dumpling. You can eat dumplings, but ideally the whole wheat dumplings are healthier. We all know. We have cassava flour, we have whole wheat, we have different other flours you can make dumplings with. Cornmeal and all of that. All of them, even if they have fiber to it, they all have starch. Remember that. Full bran or full, the unrefined flours also has carbohydrate. Do not think they don't have. They are much more healthier, that's all. They also have almost equal amount of carbohydrate. Yes, that's the truth. And then when you eat that dumpling, same thing. One dumpling, let me show you the size of the dumpling. This, not the whole cup, I'm showing the round. No, 6 of that, right? Not more than 2 at a time. Small dumplings of this size because they have pure starch, right? Pure starch. Yes. Okay. And so the key is that, and you can eat ice cream, you can eat chocolates, you can eat pastries, all of that. What is the key? Show me the hands, please, in the slide, the feast portions. This, if you want to, because I want to eat some ice cream today. Who is telling you not to have it? You can, but then if you are eating a small, not the scoop, big scoop, the level scoop ice cream, then eat. If you are eating a level scoop or a big scoop, let's say, that is the whole meal carbohydrate, you had it already. So you can't eat no starch, no rice with it. You need to, if you are eating one full scoop of ice cream, move the rice away. Then eat the meat and the vegetables with it. Because you feel for it sometimes. If you are eating a slice of rice, that is the carbohydrate. So if you are eating an ice cream today, you wanted to eat an ice cream today, nothing wrong with it. Let it. You eat because this is the time, this is life. We have to enjoy some of the pleasures of life. Let us enjoy, but then know what to avoid along with it when you are doing it. You're going for a party, Christmas come. Wow, nice plum cake. Eat it, but when you're eating that small slice, that slice should not be more than half of your God. I know. I mean, we all go off the track a little when when the celebrations come, and we say, "Oh, I'm going to lose some weight after." But what happens? Sometimes we think we can lose. As you grow older, it's not going to happen. We are going to put on top of it. Go on, next slide, please. So we need to learn to choose alternatives. That's the key. If you are right, that's the salad dressing, peanut butter. That's the peanut butter. If you are eating butter, salad dressing, peanut butter, all of that fatty stuff that we use with the meal, that is the amount that you can use for the meal. If you're using too much of that, then do not eat any other fat, because when we cook, ackee and saltfish, sometimes the oil just runs, and you know that is the whole day's oil you are eating in one meal. Fat. Oil is fat, right? Oil is fat, and that is and fat gives you 9 calories instead of carbohydrate, and protein gives you 4 calories per gram, but fats give you 9 grams. Right? So that means it adds calories. Okay, go on to the next one, please. Then we all love nuts. And why do you think this is made in this small packet? This is 1 serving. If you ever eat more than this at one time, that's excess. That means you don't need to put that in a packet for you to know. This is your fist. This is the amount of nuts that you are supposed to use at one time. Not more than this. Fist full of nuts. Clear? All right, go on, please. All right. Then, so we covered almost everything, reading labels. And now, let me ask you a question. How many servings of yam is this? One and a half? Again, you can use, hold on, hold this for me. You can use your palm to measure this too. 1 palm size, and this can be cut in 3. So this is almost 3 servings. This is the amount of yam that we should be eating as us, not you. Maybe you can eat a little more of it. He's a young man, so they are active, and I mean, depends on your activity level, of course. I'm talking about. And when you are growing, you need a little more. You're going to school, you are very athletic, and you are swimming, going for all those activities. Only thing, you cannot eat them all one time. What we all do is, I just ate 1 potato. Look at the size. This is 1 potato, and how many servings it could be? Yeah, more than 3 it is. But you will say it is just, I just ate 2 potatoes, but you would have eaten like 6 servings already, right? And think about, along with the baked potatoes, the sauces and everything that you're putting on it, plus the juice, because we all need that big drink, Pepsi, the true juice, all of that juice that we come. Look at the calories and look at the plate and say, do I really need to drink all of it? Okay, now you are traveling. You don't have no food. You didn't carry any. But on the way, you just saw a little tuck shop. Only thing that you can get is a juice. Drink it, because you didn't eat your lunch, right? But don't drink the juice and then go and eat your lunch. Too much. You understand what I'm saying? Once in a while, we might be, because of the unavailability of certain food, we might eat things that are not so healthy that we think, but then, okay, just go on, fine. But then do not drink that juice and then eat the rice together. Give some time and then eat. So that means what? I'm not encouraging you to eat unhealthy food, ice cream, cake, pastries, and the juice. What I'm trying to say is, when you are eating it, just understand that has to be substituted, right? Right. That means you can always substitute for what you are eating. And then if you have eaten a healthy lunch, then don't bother drink that juice at the time. If you want a little, and then we hear all this flavored juice, they have no sugar. Read the labels, please. They have sodium, sugar, and everything. And then even the plain water sometimes have sodium to it. So you need to know, read the labels, that is key. Okay? Read the labels and that will help you to choose what exactly you want to know. And then if you read the label and cutting the carbs and choosing the right plates, then that will prevent development of diabetes plus hypertension or control it. Or then if you are not overweight, then so many other diseases, knee pain, the cancers, all of that, we can prevent it. Everybody clear now? Okay, so that is basically it. So I have all of this to show. This is one serving. This is one serving of fruit. This is how many servings of fruit? Yes, almost 2 servings. That means, oh man, I didn't have my lunch, so I ate some Julie mangoes or East Indian. You know how sweet they are? And they are big. And that is like 4 servings of sugar, starch that we are eating. Okay, one time. So instead, maybe if you want to eat a fruit, take a slice now and eat, and then leave the rest for later. After 2 hours, you can eat the other slice. Clear? Okay, right. So it is all about knowing the right thing to eat. And if you absolutely want to drink a juice because you can't swallow the food without a little sweet, go for the small boxes. You see this? This is just 60 calories and they are not too sweet. They are small juices. Don't buy the big bag juices. They are very sweet. Okay? These are available, the small ones, and drink some. And that is 1 serving of carbohydrate. Everybody clear? Okay. So that is basically it. Okay. Thank you. Any questions?
So do we have any questions for presenter? I have one question while you think about it. What about eggs in the morning? A lot of us have eggs. Can I have 3 and nothing else?
Oh, sorry. Eggs is 100 calories, 80 to 100 calories in 1 egg. And many of us have this misconception about egg. We think the egg yolk is bad, but that has very important nutrients like vitamin E. Those are good for your skin and all of that, right? They are very good. And do not throw away the egg yolk. Eat it. But then that is fat also, but limit other fat with it. If you're boiling the egg, instead, sometimes we make an omelette, put cheese, ham, everything on it and eat, right? And that is loaded food. Do not load it. Just eat a boiled egg, or just when we fry the egg, how do you fry it? Put some good amount of oil and throw it in it and fry. Imagine the fat that we are going to eat. Eating egg is not a problem as long as you're boiling it or just poaching or, you know, those kind of things, not the fried. Or if you're making an omelette, do not use a lot of oil. Use the non-stick pan. Just grease it and use it instead of pouring the oil on it. And up to 2 eggs can be eaten for a healthy person in the morning. It's okay if you have no protein, but for older person, limit that to 1, you know, because of the fat content to it too, you know. So for young people like you guys, maybe can eat 2 eggs and 2 slices of bread and some vegetable. That's a good breakfast. That for an active person. But for us, sorry, bacon. I know we love to eat bacon, but I know that has a lot of fat and salt. Look at the salt content when you buy it. Look at the salt content. That bacon, maybe the few slices that you're going to eat, has the whole day's sodium in it. So you want to eat all the complete all the sodium intake in the breakfast and then don't eat anything after? That's not possible, right? It is said like 3 times a week, But then if you are not eating any other protein, let's say animal protein, I don't think why we can't have egg otherwise. It is not a problem. But if you are eating all the other meal, the meat, and then we are eating all the eggs every day, so you just have to exchange type of, the variety is important. So maybe you are eating chicken today, tomorrow you are eating egg, and the next day you are eating pork, or the other day you are eating goat, all of that, right? So, and as you know, there are lean meat and fatty meat. Lean meat is the best. If you're eating fatty meat, then that is a bit tricky, because that meat, along with the oil that we are using to cook, all of that is going to almost take up the whole day's fat requirement. You are going to finish it maybe for lunch itself. See, it's just to understand that these are the concept, and then to limit it. And everybody think, oh, vitamins, minerals, all of that is good for you, right? Protein, isn't that good? But the key is that any food in excess is not good for you, including the good fat. Good fat, we all know the avocado and all of that is good fat, right? But then do not overeat it. Everything has to be limited. One time you can eat like half of it, but do not eat the whole avocado one time. Good fat also is not good for you in excess. All right. Thank you.
Soroptimist Bunal, thank you very much for a very informative and practical presentation. I'm sure we are now again reminded of what are the correct portions for us to have. I know for some of us it's very difficult, and so a timely reminder is what your presentation has done for us this morning. So yes, change has to take place. Some of us have to adjust our eating habits so that we can live healthier lives. Let us say thank you again for your time. We now have some questions. This is the goodies, right? We're going to be giving away goodies for our online as well as face-to-face participants. We are giving away credit, Flow and Digicel credit. So, first question. So, are you ready? All right. Our first question: how many food groups are in the food guide pyramid? Those in front of me can raise a hand and we'll acknowledge you. All right. The second question is going to be for the persons online. And you can type your answers in the chat. Someone is monitoring the chat and will point us to the winner. So, second question for online: which food group on the food guide pyramid has the largest serving size? For those in person, how many food groups are in the food guide pyramid? Question number one, anybody? Is there a hand? There's a hand over there that looks like Soroptimist Lane.
Just to remind you, question number one was how many food groups are in the food guide pyramid? And Mrs. Balachanda had gone through and shown us there. Okay, let's hear from you, the person behind you. Incorrect. Anybody else? You had your hands up? Yes, you are correct. So we have a winner there. For question number two, do we have somebody online? But it goes both ways. Whoever goes first, we will monitor online. Is there anybody online answering? Okay, question number two.
There is a winner for question number two. Is there yet? No, for question number one.
No, for question number two there.
I think somebody is.
Who is monitoring online? We just want to make sure. Okay, we'll come back to question number 2.
Question
online.
number 2.
Just to remind our virtual viewers that the question number 2 is, which food group on the food pyramid, the food guide pyramid, has the largest serving size?
Question 2.
So that was for, and we do have somebody saying, okay, somebody's there saying protein, which is incorrect. And then we have Debbie Christie, who says carbs, and she is correct. Debbie, if you can private chat us in the shared and send us your contact, then we will we have credit for you, indicate whether you would prefer flow or Digicel credit, and we'll send that to you. Here we have, what would you prefer? Digicel? Our audience here, we're going to quickly ask you 2 more questions and then we move on to our other presentation because time is of essence. And our next question is, how many grams of carbohydrates is in 1 serving? We're gonna probably give it to somebody else. We have our persons over there. Yes, ma'am. Correct. Would you prefer Digicel or flow credit? Come and collect. And our final question, how many grams of salt does an average person can consume per day? I want to see a raise of hands, right? And what does that translate to in terms of spoon? You are so correct. Come forward and indicate what, which mobile. All right. Okay, thanks again for your participation. And I thoroughly enjoyed that presentation, and I'm sure you do. Go ahead.
So to our persons who are online, we want to remind you that we are giving away gift certificates for medical examination as well as dental care. Please type into the chat or by private message to SIJK the contact information so that we can send you the certificates, or your interest in either service so that we can send you the. So we are offering medical and dental services. The medical services are at the Diabetes Association, which is on Downer Avenue, and the dental certificate can be redeemed at the dental school or the College of Health Sciences.
Okay, just to
which is on Authorwind Drive.
Just to reiterate, we are giving away medical certificates, and for those persons who have medical concerns, you will be directed to the Diabetes Association of Jamaica, and that is on Downer Avenue of Old Hope Road. And for those persons who prefer to, or you can do both, dental services, it will be offered at the dental school or on Authorwind Drive. And just to remind you, when we do give you the certificates, you will contact these entities or these organizations and make your appointments. We will not do them for you, so you can do it at your convenience. All right? So we are just coming out of the pandemic and we are breathing a sigh of relief, saying, okay, we are moving back to normal. A lot of the restrictions have been dropped and, you know, the protocols, and in some cases, because a lot of us are vaccinated, we think we can go without our mask. We're sitting up here and I'm confident that my co-chair, she's fully vaccinated, and so am I. So I have a lesser chance of contracting corona. But guess what? Now that we're breathing a sigh of relief, what are we hearing? There's a war waging in Europe. And if it's not carefully managed, we can go into a World War III, which might be very catastrophic. And we are trying to avoid that. So many of us were largely unconcerned until we found out that there were Jamaican students, in Ukraine. So we heard about the war and we weren't paying much attention to it. But all of a sudden you hear Jamaicans, and that makes us, pay attention. And now we're breathing a sigh of relief that our students are home and safe. So, go ahead. Your turn.
Against that background, we all are in need of coping mechanisms to preserve our mental health in these challenging times. Yes, I imagine that many of us are experiencing some level of anxiety, right? And so we are going to be sharing with you today a competent presenter who will give you some mental health advice. Our next presentation will be delivered by psychiatrist Dr. Lorraine Barnaby. She is going to join us virtually. Dr. Lorraine Barnaby is a Jamaican medical doctor specializing in psychiatry and is a consultant psychiatrist and international fellow of the American Psychiatric Association. Professionally, Dr. Barnaby has worked in a wide variety of settings, disciplines, and countries, most recently in Cayman Islands. But she has also in the past worked in Bahamas. She has also worked at the University Hospital of the West Indies in the first dementia clinic in the island. Dr. Barnaby will speak to us today on preserving your mental health in challenging times. Let us hear from Soroptimist, Dr. Lorraine Barnaby, as she makes her presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Am I being heard?
It will soon be on the screen. Oh.
Okay.
Yes, loud and clear.
Very good. And oh yes, everything is visible now. As you were talking about the corona, well, it's a coronavirus, but let me just call it COVID-19. I had on my opening screen 3 examples of the virus, and of course masks and so on, which we are still wearing, although I'm not wearing mine because I'm at home. And I also have a picture of Ukraine. You would recognize the flag of Ukraine because we are all kind of waiting and hoping that there is no third world war.
Probably.
So I am talking about preserving.
We need to tell her to turn up our volume.
I am going to try to do that. I may have to stop sharing for a while. May have to.
Hearing you perfectly.
Yes, but if I'm to turn up my volume, I have to.
What you probably need to do, Dr. Barnaby, is turn or share your volume.
It's at 100% now.
Slide. Sound. Share your computer sound so we can hear you better. You're very low.
Yes.
She can share the sound as well.
Okay, am I being heard?
Presentation to come on. Let me just ask you another question. You heard in the greetings how long we have been serving your community, hosting the health fair. Can somebody tell me how many years now we have been in your community hosting your health fair? Let me look for somebody who has not gotten a prize yet. You have gotten a prize? Okay, stand and tell us. Right. Yes, so can I was waiting.
Have you been able to sort out the price for the person who can tell you how long you have been serving their community? Yes? Okay, would somebody tell me whether I'm being heard now?
I'm hearing you.
you.
I'm hearing
Okay.
you and I'm seeing the share.
Okay, great. So I had dedicated the presentation to our Soroptimist sister, Jean Andrade, who is now resting in peace and light perpetually shining upon her. So I would like to thank the organizers for the privilege of being able to speak with you today. I trust it won't go on too long and that I will be able to answer any questions that may emerge during the presentation. I have a format and I'm going to try to stick to it if possible. I want to define health and mental health. Health, which is a WHO definition, a state of physical, mental, social, and spiritual well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And then we have, everything is intermingled. So mental health is a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities. That is their potential. They can cope with the normal stresses of life. They can be productive at work, and they can be fruitful at work, and they'll be able to make a contribution to his or her community. That is, they're altruistic and they're reaching out at all times, just as our Soroptimist Service Club has been doing for almost 60 years. And so presumably the club is mentally healthy,
Hold on.
and I suspect the persons who are members as well. Okay, now I want to let us figure out what are the determinants for mental health. And this is a complex interplay of nature and nurture. And when we're thinking about nature versus nurture, we think about the health of the parents, especially the mother, the family, the wider family. We think about child rearing practices, we think about culture and religious practices and other things that you can think of. We also want to look at biological, psychological, and social factors. And I want to zone in a little bit on the social factors because you have to look at the environment, the built environment like buildings that you have. You may have urban, rural places of living. You have to look at the laws that are in effect at the place that you're living. You have to look at any contamination of the environment, like the Riverton City dump and places that have contamination. All of the places along the Rio Cobre, where you have many different industries and they all put their waste in the Rio Cobre. And so that's a potential source of contamination, which can affect persons who use that river for bathing, washing, and other purposes. You look at the geographical location, you look at seasonal changes, for example, hurricane, flood, winter and summer and spring and autumn, depending on where you're living. School and work environments, and of course, you must never forget financial and wealth factors. And of course, race, gender, and ethnicity may sometimes be very important factors in this regard. And to cover all of those things, mens sana in corpore sano, which means a healthy mind in a healthy body, and again reminds us of the interconnectedness of everything. Now, I have tried to go through from a global standpoint right up to the local Jamaican standpoint. So you'll see different slides. I don't want to kind of waste our time on too much on the global and the regional, but I must say that the pandemic was something which created a lot of stress and strain for almost every single nation in the world, and we had our share of it too. We had the WHO proclaiming a pandemic. We had all sorts of governmental protocols regarding not just in Jamaica, but all over the world, like, you know, in New Zealand, which is so far down south. But they had protocols regarding travel, masks, distancing, physical distancing, sanitization, vaccine, politics, I call it vaccine politics. And there was a lot of inequity of access to vaccines and treatments, therapeutic things, you know. So that still continues, although everybody is thinking, as you were saying, that we're out of the woods. I'm not too sure about that, but then we have to look at the aggression of Putin versus Zelensky. That aggression, which actually is causing a lot of distress to the people of Ukraine, as well as the people of Russia, because there have been sanctions which will bite more and more as the days go on. Democracy versus autocracy is really at the root of this thing, because Putin wants to go back to having the USSR, and America and Europe seem to want to prevent him. Just to remember that there are certain countries, some in the US, that have not signed some of the important UN treaties. And the last thing I want to put on this is the war-related acute and chronic stress that people are experiencing right now. And they're having bereavement because some of their people have died, including children who have died. And therefore they're prone to depressive and anxiety disorders and substance use and abuse in increasing amounts. Now, if we go to the North and South American area, apart from all the things that I said before, we're looking at poverty, food shortages, they apply to the Ukrainians too, food shortages, racism, regional trauma, civil strife, kidnapping, which is quite prevalent in South America, and the physical, psychological, and sexual abuse and trafficking. Drug trade of cannabis, cocaine, and opiates is quite prevalent over that side. And of course, the oil. Venezuela has oil. Trinidad has oil. Well, Trinidad I'll talk about when I get to the Caribbean. And all of these other social problems, which include corruption, crime, and suicide. Okay, now I have a couple clippings from the newspapers, and you notice that I have here Omicron. I have here, this is Omicron, still giving us problems. Bracing for the worst is saying that the hospitals were under pressure a couple months back, and I don't think they're under so much pressure now. And of course, we are seeing increases of prices of many things, not just oil and gas, but other things that we see in our supermarket. Okay, now what I say for the Caribbean applies more or less to us in Jamaica, but the national governmental protocols have been a little bit different for each territory within the CARICOM area. But they still have the inequity of population, poverty, racism, oil issues. As I said, Trinidad, I think Ghana has found some oil. I think Barbados has some oil too. There's drug-related agriculture to produce things like ganja and so on. But remember, there's an emerging market for marijuana for health You see, in some states in America, it's legal, and it's been legal in Netherlands for a long time. Other social problems include crime and suicide. And here, I want to just mention that there are 2, well, maybe 3 territories that have a high suicide rate, and their suicide is connected to the use of pesticides. We are talking about Guyana and the Trinidad and Tobago area, and also Suriname. Both Guyana and the Trinidad and Tobago have quite a high, almost equal balance between, excuse me, the excuse me, between the Indians and the Black population. And Guyana, in fact, has the highest rate of suicide, and has had this over the past several years now. Since 2012, they were globally the highest nation for suicide. I think right now their rate is something like 60 per 100,000 of suicides, meaning people who have died by suicide. Health problems related to COVID, and of course the chronic diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, asthma, arthritis, endocrine disorders, glaucoma, dementia, and immune deficiency disorders, including cancer. These are things that affect a lot of the territories in the Caribbean. And the mental disorders, again, there are people who were studying in Ukraine, studying medicine and other things at Ukraine. And so where there were youngsters who managed to escape, or where there are people who are still trapped in Ukraine, in Kyiv, their families would be really quite worried about them at this time. Okay, 30% hike. This is to do with minimum wage. The minimum wage hike was not felt to be big enough to counteract the inflation. And the roads, death traps, and killers, children who are killed by adults. And this is a man who is confessing to a plan that he had to try and kill his girlfriend's child. This is to do with oil and so on. Okay. Now, again, murder. Murder is like, you see it on the front page all the time. It's one of those things that we have to be very observant about and careful about. I'm not sure how well the current Minister of Security is doing. It's a very difficult job to do in any case. And you see here, 4th wave, that's to do with the COVID. It might have been related to the Delta version of it, but still, even in the Omicron, they still had a lot of persons falling in. Okay, this is now Jamaica, and here we want to look at the family, work, local community, all island, and we're looking at relationship issues, including abuse, whether this is physical abuse, psychological abuse, sexual abuse, or neglect. Then you have to look at the inequity in the population, and these are many: educational, school that you end up going to, the job opportunities, housing, location. And all of these may expose the individual or the family to violence and environmental hazards and so on. Poverty, effects of price hikes on fixed income persons or minimum wage earners, and of course things like racism. The oil import export, we tend to import, and so we're seeing the price of the gasoline and diesel going up and up and up. Drug-related agriculture, it's still illegal to be growing and so on.
Let's see from here.
It's
Carrots? Can you get some carrots for her?
Somebody wants to tell me something, please tell me. If you wanted to say something to me, please say it. I don't mind. Okay. Various health problems. Again, we're looking at things that the government has done from the beginning of the COVID pandemic up to now. And we can remember the isolation of certain communities. We remember the curfews. We remember some of the persons who got caught having parties when they were supposed to be isolated in the curfew, not going out. We also remember that many road accidents occurred during the so-called curfew when everybody was supposed to be off the road. So again, this people have disobeyed it, right, left, and center. We are a nation that has a lot of chronic diseases, such as I mentioned before, including cancer. Okay, but diabetes and hypertension are pretty common here, and glaucoma and arthritic disorders. Whatever is down there, it's to do with mental disorders. Again, I talk about persons who had children over in the Ukraine. Okay, now this chart is one that you may have seen before. It's called the Holmes and Ray life stress chart, and it just goes down and it lists and gives a mark, a unit to certain conditions which are life stressors. So the first one they have, there's death of a spouse, and some of you may have had such an unfortunate experience, but they put it at the top, probably because this person would have been close to you emotionally, physically, in every way, somebody you could confide in. And so when there's a loss, it is magnified tremendously, and you would have bereavement issues. Again, another form of separation is divorce, and again, these will create problems. But as you go down the list, you see the issues become a little bit more easy to deal with. On the green side of the greenish blue side of the chart, you see change in recreation, change in church activities, change in sleeping habits, mortgage or loan, change in number of family reunions, and so on. Those seem a little bit minor, and I don't have the rating for them is low. But going to prison is pretty high. Death of a family member, injury or illness. And you see some of these things are positive, like marriage, but it can create its own stressor. Okay, now I just wanted to tell you that all of these things that I'm talking about, people have done some research on some aspects. The main thing is that there's an interconnection between the mental and the manifestations of physical disorders. So this work that you see by Jella and Sacco. Jella is a professor of psychiatry at University of Massachusetts Medical School, and Ms. Sacco is an RN, a psychiatric nurse. Now, they actually were reporting on another study which was done by Fetty and Ander. And that study, now, they came up with a questionnaire which is looking at certain aspects of childhood and the experiences of childhood. Now, these would have to be very adverse, like if you're getting excessive beating, or if you have had early exposure to sexual exposure to rape and those kind of things, incest, bullying, and so on at school.
Shannon? Hold on, wait.
May I continue? I'm trying to rush through this, you know. This was a study that was administered to 17,000 persons in the California area. The Kaiser Permanente is a large insurance company. So they did this study, and it was found that 50% of the persons who answered it had some form of abuse in their history. And it was also found that if they had one example of an adverse experience, that kind of predisposed them to exposure to other negative experiences. And so it was felt that there was a connection. And in fact, Dr. Anda from the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, his theory was that the adverse experience had an effect on the brain development, which was a long-lasting effect. And so it manifested in the adult period, not in the childhood period, although some of these children would be showing conduct disorders as well as depressive disorders and anxiety disorders, because especially if they were never treated for the adverse experience. And I can tell you that when I was working at the university, a lot of young ladies would come in because of depression and suicidal ideation. And when you go to the history, they had been raped or they had had an incestuous relationship with some relative. And they ended up showing it in their 20s and 30s. And I have seen it also in young children. Well, when I say young, I mean like 12, 13, who had exposure at age 8 and sometimes younger. It's very terrible to think about. And they had never been taken to SIJK or any other place for counseling. And so they were having post-traumatic stress disorder, even in the current time. And so this is a serious and potentially very life-threatening condition to have. Now, here it is where Dr. Ander talked about the disruption of neurodevelopment. Here, disruption of neurodevelopment with lasting effects and on the brain structure and function. Okay, now, quite apart from the fact that these people had these problems, because they were developing chronic diseases, then these diseases would affect their ability to function effectively at work or in any other sphere of life that they had. And so potentially billions of dollars were being lost because of that. They discussed also some therapies that were useful, and the therapies included something called prolonged exposure therapy, as well as a thing that the thing they call EMDR, and which is to do with eyes desensitization. It's a thing I had somebody when I was at a conference, they did it to me, but I don't think I got any change. But it is a technique that is used to help people who have chronic stress, post-traumatic stress disorder, and things of that nature. They have trauma. Okay, quickly moving on. So what those people were saying is that there's a connection between stress and early life experiences and chronic disease development. It is like hand in glove. Now, Professor, within the Jamaican area and the Caribbean, Professor Rainford Wilkes, who some of you must know, has done a lot of work in this area, and he's not saying the same thing, but his research is showing the same kind of thing. Starting with the health and lifestyle survey in 2007 to 8, he was looking at factors involved in chronic diseases, and when they were looking, even though the STIs and HIV/AIDS were the second, and then the chronic diseases were third. The first most common cause of death was violence and injury. And even when we're looking at the clippings, we could see that there was gun things and people killing children and women and all kinds of things. And so it was borne out by the study. But he also looked at depression. He looked at gender differences in the effects of urban neighborhoods on depressive symptoms in Jamaica. He looked at disparities in hypertension among Black Caribbean people. And he also looked at suicide, depression and suicidal behavior within the Caribbean. Now, we know that, as I said before, the Trinidad and Tobago, Ghana, and Suriname, they have high rates of suicide. But Jamaica is number one for violence in the whole of the Latin America and Caribbean area. They're number one. And they've been number one for a lot of the time. I think the last result that I got was 2021, 60.4, I think, per 100,000 population was their rate of homicide. Okay, now what we're going to look at now is what do we do about this thing? How do we prevent these things, these challenges that we're having to do with relationships, to do with a war that's on Europe's doorstep, and to do with all the things with price hikes and gun crimes and all of these other things. Yes. So all of these things we want to be aware of. So exercise is an important one. And I talked about stop using substances like alcohol, ganja, maybe sometimes sleeping tablets. Decide to alter your lifestyle, and this is Lent, so you can start it now. Exercise and take control of your diet, like was being said before, and increase giving. Altruism is a good thing. It makes you feel better, and it makes the other person feel much, much better. Okay, we're almost finished. Looking at various forms of prayer and meditation, which can also be very helpful to you. Some of them are very specialized, visualization and mindfulness, very specialized, so it's biofeedback. But the others are quite simple. And these two terms, I just wanted to mention them briefly. You know them already anyway, emotional intelligence and resilience. And then I'll just give a summary, and that will be the end of it. Now, the emotional intelligence consists of self-awareness, being able to manage your feelings, being empathetic, being able to understand, read other person's feelings without them telling you, having the social skills to handle all types of emotional reactions in others, like if they get angry and so on, to be able to interact and to manage relationships, and motivation, zeal, persistence, optimism. Now, the other one, which is the resilience, I just have a definition from the American Psychological Association. It's like to be able to bounce back, you know, like a ball, you bounce back. Process of adapting in the face of adversity or any kind of negative experience. And if you are able to do this, then it's very helpful to you. Then I just have something about food. You got a whole thing about food. Main thing, decrease sugar intake. and eat healthily. Vegetables, fruit, multivitamin, multimineral, and fish. Essential fatty acids are in fish. Okay. B12 and so on. You had a whole thing on it, so that doesn't need to be labeled over. And the final slide is that if you practice good health, then you're going to probably practice good mental health too. Sleep is important. If you don't sleep, you're going to end up with a problem. Some people get psychotic if they don't sleep after like 2 days or 3 days, so it's important. Physical exercise, dancing is an exercise. Prayer, recognizing signs of distress and stress and depression and abuse. Be able to recognize these things so that you can take the appropriate steps to deal with the situation, which might mean escaping to a place of safety, depending on what the problem is, if it's sexual abuse or physical abuse. Get help when necessary from a trained professional person, whether this is a pastor, counselor, psychologist, or a psychiatrist, and you may need to do so. They may need to do social investigation. Practice resilience, because it's something you can learn and you can apply. Use the EQ in interacting with people. Remember, Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. Well, everybody else except you is your neighbor. And try to maintain a circle of friends and family, including church family, a sports group, sewing circle, gardening club, book club, anything, but to keep a circle of friends. Sometimes you need them and you may not have them. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your attention. And if there are questions, I will try to answer them. I had 5 questions put up, but I suspect they're probably too complicated. Thank you.
Because we're living in an environment that there are lots of stressing things happen to us. We are bombarded by high prices, by crime, by just the social, economical, and environmental factors that are impacting our mental state. And don't forget about work. For a lot of persons, they have to go to work to maintain their social status and to, their economic status, but at the same time, they are having issues at work. And when all of that is compounded, we need the services of persons like Dr. Barnaby to navigate us through, these trying times. So thank you again, Dr. Barnaby, for this timely presentation. So we're going to quickly ask a few questions. We're going to ask questions both online for the online viewers and for these persons in our live, on our live, or who are present in the room. So my first question, and that's for the person sitting in the chapel. And then my co-chair will ask for the online, a question of the online persons. So here goes. And I'm going to try to make Dr. Barnaby, I'll be modifying the questions a bit to make them a little more simpler. Okay, so question number 1. I want you to name 2 challenges to our mental health in Jamaica. Any 2. And probably I'll take responses from two persons in this room because there are quite a number of challenges to our mental health. But if one person can name me two and somebody else can name me two, their prize is there for you. So let's hear you. Can you indicate with a show of hands? Nobody? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Your long list, so just any two. What was that? Okay. All right, very good. Anybody else? I will accept that. The person said marriage, and of course I will accept that. And it equates to family. Yes. Anything or relationship. And that's one. Give me one more. Or you want to share the prize with your colleague? Go ahead. Abuse of a child. And yes. All right, so we have 3 winners. Venice, you to your online users.
So your question is in the chat. Name 2 factors causing stress in the current pandemic. So please type your answers. We are giving away credit, both Flow and Digicel for online purses. For the persons in this room, we're giving you masks and sanitizers. So we're protecting you during this time. Still continue to provide.
So in the interest of time, at the end of the session of the forum, we will give you your prizes, those that for the persons in the chapel.
Okay, persons, there's an answer in the chat, and you are correct, Jennifer. And there's a second answer. Jennifer says employment and learning, and those of us with children and grandchildren can relate to the learning. It was stressful for the children and for the parents. For those of us who are not so computer savvy and tech savvy, I imagine the nightmares that's caused us. So yes, thanks very much for that, Jennifer. And the second one is low income and poor housing. And that is real, very, very real in our circumstances here in Jamaica. I think a lot of persons lost income or had no income during the last 2 years. And so that has been a major, major challenge for them. And of course, that impacts on housing as well. And so, yes, we have 2 winners. We will direct message you your credit. Please indicate to me whether you prefer Digicel or Flow so I can give you the right. Yes.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Let's move along because I think we are a bit out of time in terms of our running order. But thanks again, Dr. Barnaby, for your presentation. And just before we take the final presentation, I just want to remind persons that there are certificates given away for medical services and dental services. And you can indicate in the chat if you are interested in seeking medical services or dental services. And for those persons who are present here with us at the end of the session, we will deal with you. And for the medical services, you would be sent to the Diabetes Association, and that's on Donau Avenue off Old Hope Road. And for dental services, the College of Oral Health Sciences, that is the University of Technology, or what we normally call dental school on Authorwick Drive, they will attend to these needs. And all you have to do when you get your certificate is to contact them and make arrangements to make an appointment. Okay, so at this point, we will go to our second presentation. Please go ahead. Okay, so our second presentation will be third, will be done by Dr. Melody Ennis, and this again will be done virtually. Dr. Ennis is the Director of Family Health Services in the Ministry of Health and Wellness. She has been in the forefront of the ministry's information campaign about the coronavirus pandemic and has been encouraging persons across Jamaica to take the vaccine to lessen the impact of the disease on the body. So without further ado, let us welcome Dr. Ennis to our virtual forum.
Thank you so much. A pleasant good afternoon to everyone. As is now customary with me, I'll be speaking vaccines. And I am going to share my screen. Okay, so we are going to have a little discussion this afternoon looking at vaccines and healthy living. Now, I want us to take a look just for a moment on some diseases that are forgotten. So, is there anybody in the audience that remembers polio? It was with us in the 1950s. Persons would have their healthy children born, and in a couple of years, not a correct word to say anymore, but they would be crippled, having to use those gadgets to move. Some would even need to be placed in an iron lung, and others, of course, would have died. Tetanus. Everybody is afraid of lockjaw, but we have not seen tetanus in a while. That, of course, caused death. Then we have mumps. Who remember when they used to band up we head? Band we up because we have mumps. Not a lot of persons would die, but guess what? Our men would get affected. The boys, when they have mumps, they would go on to having a challenge with fertility. Couldn't have any children. Who remembers measles and rubella? Yeah, caused brain damage, deafness, blindness. And everybody must know whooping cough because they used to give us all sorts of things to drink. Rat pee and tamarind this just to prevent whooping cough. And of course, smallpox. These are all forgotten diseases. So it brings us to vaccines, and it is the, are vaccines really necessary? I mean, my immune system is strong. I am wonderfully made. My system can function without vaccines, can't it? Don't it? Do they do more harm than good? Can vaccines really help me to live a healthy life? So we all have an immune system. That is indeed excellent. It is our own ability to resist, to fight off, to withstand, to counteract infections and toxins. And we have specialized cells that do this work. These specialized cells, however, have a memory, but they need to be exposed before they can develop that memory. And then once there is re-exposure, they give us protection. So if we think of the immune system like the Jamaica Defense Force, we have our soldiers, many different types of soldiers, many different types of cells in our bodies that fight, each being specialized. You know, they use a special gun, that's their thing. But then another important thing with the Jamaica Defense Force is that they have to gather intelligence. Could the host please close that microphone? Thank you. So as with the Jamaica Defense Force, they have to gather intelligence. That is how they keep alert, abreast, and be able to protect us. So our system needs to gather intelligence as well. And that is where vaccines come in. Vaccines are the substances that we take via injection, drops, or nasal spray. And what do? They stimulate our body to generate these germ-fighting tools called antibodies, so that we can produce a stronger and quicker immune response. So they act as the intelligence. When we take the vaccines, they prime our bodies. Our bodies look at the vaccine and say, this is how the germ is going to look. I must now go and make the correct ammunition. So once the germ comes in, I am ready, set, fire, and I can ensure that protection is had. Now, vaccines have many characteristics that kind of like make them unique. They prevent or reduce. So they either prevent or reduce the severity of infectious diseases. They provide durable long-term protection against these diseases. They are able to achieve immunity with minimum number of doses. So when you think of other medication, you're taking them every day for life, or you're taking them for a protracted period of time, or even 5 or 7 days. With vaccines, you get 1, 2, or 3 shots, and that's it. Now, vaccines are also stable at extremes of storage conditions over a prolonged period of time. They can be mass produced, and now, in spite of all of these things, because we give vaccines to well people, the degree of tolerance for any adverse event or side effect is low to zero. So the general public, people don't have any tolerance at all. And therefore, the safety standards for vaccines are higher when we compare that to medicines for sick people. You know, people say, you're sick already, so you're sick already. But with vaccines, you're well. You're not expected to be sick. And therefore, vaccines are held to a real high standard. National regulatory authorities, stringent regulatory authorities must assess carefully before vaccines come on the scene for use, during and even after vaccines have been approved for use. So there has to be this delicate balance between vaccine efficacy, which is the ability to do exactly what it is intended to do, which is protect you from illness, either by preventing it or reducing the severity. And that must be delicately balanced by the probability of an increased adverse event that may harm persons or even the population at large. Now, there are several platforms on which vaccines are built. And as such, we have a lot of variety, but all of the vaccines are held to this very high standard of production. So we have those that use the weakened version of the virus or bacteria, which would be your live attenuated one. So when you get your polio drops, when you get your measles, yellow fever vaccine, those are the live attenuated ones. You have some that use just a toops or a little piece of the virus. That is the subunit. And you have hepatitis, HPV or the human papillomavirus vaccine, and pertussis are all examples. Then you have some that uses the inactivated or the killed. So they use it, but it's killed, so it cannot cause any disease. Again, you have your pertussis or whooping cough and polio. Some of the vaccines actually use the poisons that the viruses and bacteria make, and that is in the form of a toxoid. So we have like what? Tetanus, that tetanus toxoid, because we're all afraid of lockjaw, remember? and rusty nails are always about. So there is the tetanus toxoid. Then you have other vaccines now that uses what we call the viral vector technology. So you have a vector, which is a carrier that carries the important elements into the body so that we can make those germ fighting tools. And of course, we now have our messenger RNA vaccines, which don't use the virus, but uses the genetic coding of a TOPS, another piece of the virus, to help us to build immunity. So irrespective of the platform that is used, remember now, we have to go through this pre-licensing vaccine safety protocol, where you have your various clinical trials, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and you have to pass each phase before you can move on to the next. If there is any failure of any of the phases, then you have to suspend the production. But even after the vaccines are introduced into the society, then we have a very complex, intricate, and worldwide surveillance system where you look to see if there are any adverse events following immunization. And it must be reported, it must be investigated, an analysis must be undertaken, causality must be ascribed. Is this condition that occurred after immunization or vaccination, is it as a result of the vaccine? Is it coincidental? Was something wrong with the product? Was it anxiety related? But causality must be determined. And then if there is something to change, feedback must be given and corrective actions taken. Now, that cycle occurs everywhere in the world. There is the Uppsala system. There is a data link system where all countries will input any adverse event after any and all vaccines that are being administered in their country. So you by now realize how special vaccines are. They have the capacity to reach more people than any other health or social service. So if you have a particular disease condition and you can give a vaccine, it can be given worldwide. The vital component of any primary healthcare system, the world, is based on the use of vaccines as a preventative measure for disease. It is that tool in medicine that reduces the burden of diseases on any and every population. So the benefits are not just to individuals, it is to communities, it is to countries, it is to the entire globe. Now we have moved comfortably into the global village. Countries are just hours away from each other. And when we say hours, we mean within 24 hours. So vaccines help to keep the world safe. It is an investment in the future. It saves lives, it protects the health of populations, it improves productivity. People are not sick, they can work. They can become self-reliant. And of course, it just enables the world to be safer, to be healthier, to be prosperous, to be happy. Now, this business of vaccines moving us along in the world has had a long and strong history. Over 250 years. I showed you some diseases that we have forgotten. and we are able to forget them because of this very real, alive, and robust history of vaccines. So smallpox, eradicated. Rabies, I think we heard of rabies just recently because there is rabies in Ukraine. So we heard about it. But outside of that, when was the last time you heard about rabies? Diphtheria. Yellow fever. Yes, there's yellow fever around, and there is an outbreak going on. And there are countries, even within the Caribbean and Latin America, that have yellow fever, but it's under control. Not a lot of vulnerable people are there to get the illness. There is polio. Polio is in 2 countries in the world, Afghanistan and Pakistan. However, just some weeks ago, there is now a case, an outbreak in Malawi. Malawi is about 23 hours away from Jamaica. So if we have vulnerable persons in our society that have not been vaccinated, then guess what? They can get polio. Remember, the gadgets that they need to walk, your healthy child may now be quote unquote crippled. And of course, we have some other diseases that vaccines help to prevent: meningitis, chicken pox, the regular, you hear me say regular, that's because it's been around so long, influenza, and even Ebola. So the worth of vaccines cannot be discounted. And when we compare pre-vaccine era with post-vaccine era, then, it's like cheese to chalk. So if we just look at 3 disease conditions: diphtheria, measles, and mumps. Now, pre-vaccine era, we had deaths from these 3 conditions. We had cases, significant number of cases. In the case of diphtheria, you had 158 cases per million per year, and you had deaths, 13.7 deaths per million per year. Significant deaths. With vaccines, there has been 100% reduction in the number of cases and the number of deaths. And that holds true for measles and mumps. 97.4% reduction in cases of mumps, 100% reduction in deaths. For measles, 99.99% reduction in cases, 100% reduction in deaths. So, do vaccines really work? Let's continue. So the benefits of vaccines have not been lost on the region of the Americas. Actually, the region of the Americas, of which we are a part, have been leaders in the vaccination campaign across the world. We were the first region in the world to eliminate smallpox. We were the first region to be certified polio-free. We had, our last case of endemic measles in the whole Americas in about 2002. We no longer have rubella and congenital rubella syndrome. But not only have we been eliminating from our population these diseases, which is allowing us to live healthier lives, we have also taken first mover advantage, where we have introduced new vaccines into our population. We were the first to introduce the pneumococcal vaccine. We were the first to introduce the rotavirus vaccine, the first to introduce the human papillomavirus vaccine, because we understood that with these vaccines, the burden of disease would certainly be less. Our population would be far better off. Our girls, for example, that contract the human papillomavirus early in life, 10, 15 years after, when they are in their prime and should be contributing significantly to society, that is when, at 35 and 40, that is when they are plagued with cervical cancer, a preventable cancer. So vaccines, once upon a time, was primarily for infectious diseases. But as we have evolved, we recognize that we can use this technology to even prevent cancers. And of course, we have been leaders in the Americas. What's been happening in Jamaica? Have we in Jamaica embraced vaccines? Oh, yes, we have. We can look from the 1800s up to today, when we started, you know, pre-vaccine, post-vaccine. So in the 1800s to about 1940s, what we saw, that life expectancy was what? Just about 38 years. Infant mortality was 100 to 200 per 1,000 live births. Infectious disease were running wild, which included, of course, your polio, your measles, your rubella, your tetanus. All of those diseases were running wild and causing an immeasurable amount of deaths. In the 1950s and 60s, what happened? Well, things got better. So nutrition improved, sanitation improved, but guess what? A little Tupsa vaccine came into the world, and the life expectancy increased to what? 53 years. Infant mortality reduced to 49 per 1,000 live births. And now there were frequent outbreaks of particular disease conditions that could be targeted by vaccines. But in the 1970s to 1980s, that is when Jamaica came fully on board with immunization. We instituted the school immunization program. So we also embraced the expanded program on immunization in 1977. We carried out mass vaccination campaigns, and we were able during this decade to see the last case of polio. So we don't have polio in country again. In the 1990s to 2000, there were some more lasts that we were able to achieve with vaccines. Diphtheria, 1995, no more. Congenital rubella syndrome, 1998, no more. Rubella, 2000, no more. And look at our infant mortality rate. It went down to 24 per 1,000 live births. Our mission of keeping the population safe continued. 2001 to present, we managed to get rid of tetanus. So our last case was in 2001. And we have introduced new vaccines because we know they will help. So we have introduced the inactivated polio vaccine, the human papillomavirus vaccine, the pneumococcal vaccine. And today, our life expectancy is what? 75 years. So we have come a long way with the use of vaccines benefiting the population. So now, back to picture. So what we should remember is that the organisms that cause these diseases that we have forgotten are still around. There is still the mosquito that can transmit yellow fever. There is still the bacteria for diphtheria and whooping cough, the virus for polio, measles. They are still around, yes. So if we were to stop vaccinating, then we would have a population of persons that are vulnerable. And the said viruses and bacteria would be able to infect these persons and bring these diseases back. So the importance of continuing the mission, because we have not got rid of the organisms that cause these illnesses. So we have many more vaccine preventable diseases now. We have Haemophilus influenzae, which we have hepatitis, we have chicken pox, we have many more diseases that can be prevented. And of course, we have the big C. So there is COVID on the horizon, in the area, in the space. So we know the benefits of the vaccines. We have seen how they are manufactured because they are held to a much higher standard. We see that monitoring continues so that if there is any challenge with the product, changes can be made, but there is still hesitancy. And there are still myths about vaccines. And we've got to bust those myths, and we've got to really look at the facts as they present themselves. So vaccines will make you sick. So the vaccines will not make you sick. You may get side effects from the vaccines. Of course, these side effects normally last for 24 to 48 hours. If you are very unfortunate, it will last for 72 hours. So there are common run-of-the-mill side effects that you get. Soreness at the injection site. You get pain, you get a fever, you can get a flu-like illness, you can become dizzy, you can get abdominal pain, you may even get a rash. Yes, those are common run-of-the-mill side effects that will go over time, and the time is not long, 24 to 48 hours. Remember when you took the babies to clinic or to their pediatrician and they tell you to give the baby some Panadol because they know the child is going to be irritable, have fever, kick and scream after the vaccine. So the vaccines do have side effects, but they are short-lived. I will get the disease from the vaccine. That is the disease you're trying to prevent. And that is not so because of how the vaccines are made. So remember now, it is the killed or inactivated viruses that they use to make the vaccines. So if you kill it, it's dead. So it really can't do nothing because the dead cannot do anything. No? So the killed or inactivated, if it's a subunit, if it's a piece of it, it cannot replicate. If it is a genetic coding, then it cannot cause a disease. Now, a few vaccines do use the live organisms, although they are weakened. So they are weakened and don't cause the illness, but because they use the live organism, persons may get a mild case of the disease. Chickenpox is the prime example. So persons may get a rash, but it certainly does not fill up their entire body from head to toe and them have to paint with calamine lotion and them scratching out them life. No. They get a mild case of the disease that is not harmful at all, 1 or 2 bumps, and they know that the vaccine is working because the body did identify and is churning out those germ-fighting tools. The newer vaccines with the adjusted genetic code do not cause and cannot cause the illness that they're trying to fight against. Now, vaccines contain harmful ingredients. Well, I want to preface this by saying that anything can be harmful in the wrong amount. So even water can be harmful. You can get water intoxication, water toxicity, if too much of it is taken in. So vaccine ingredients allow the product to be safely administered. If there are constituents of a vaccine that can cause an illness, the dose is much, much lower than what we take in every day in the foods that we eat and drink, not medicines now, but in the regular foods that we eat and drink every day, the quantity of these substances, for example, aluminum hydroxide, the quantity that is present in some vaccines is much less than what we take in every single day in the foods we eat. Now, persons will say that, vaccine preventable diseases are just a part of life. It's just a part of life. And it really is better to have the disease than to become immune through vaccines. The facts really are that in order for you to build this immunity, you have to get the disease. And you may get complications and even die from this disease. So your getting immunity may end up in your death. Vaccines now do not cause a disease, and they do not put persons who are immunized at any greater potential of any complications. And therefore, this is a way to prevent the disease than, to say, I will wait on natural immunity. Now, if we turn our attention a moment to COVID-19, because that's the vaccines that's really here and unearthing all of the hesitancy that, maybe we're asleep. One of the biggies is that the COVID-19 vaccine causes infertility in women. Absolutely no. The vaccine does not train our body to attack what we call the syncytin-1, which is a protein in the placenta, which could lead to infertility. There's a lot of science behind the explanation of why it doesn't cause infertility. But with my simple mind, I now can look at just the general population. Right here, even in Jamaica, people who got their first dose of AstraZeneca last year, March and April, came back for their second dose pregnant. Actually, them come back for them second dose with them bouncing baby. So the business of infertility in women can be put to rest. Several studies have been conducted where there is no change in the capacity or ability for women to have children, or for that matter, for men to impregnate them. Persons are saying that, boy, I may get COVID already, so guess what? I don't really need to get the vaccine. That is not so. If you have already had the disease, you can get it again. You may have known persons who have had the disease more than once, and the second time is not always as good as the first, and them end up dead. So the recommendation is that you do take the vaccine once you have recovered, once you are better from your COVID infection. And as with the other vaccines, you cannot get COVID-19 from the vaccine. It is not in it. It is not a part of it. It don't make up of it, so it cannot give it to you. It's just as simple as that. There is another myth that is, you could use that same explanation for it, but it says, once I receive the vaccine, I will test positive for COVID. You could say, but you can't test positive unless you have it, and it's not in the vaccine. But that we know. But sometimes when persons are talking about testing positive, they're talking about the particular test that they're taking. So you remember there is something called the antibody test. So we have antigen tests and we have PCR tests. We also have something called the antibody test. Now, when you take the vaccine, what it does, it primes our bodies to make germ-fighting tools called antibodies. So if you take the vaccine, of course, if you do an antibody test, it is going to be positive. You want it to be positive because you want your body to have these germ-fighting tools. So, but the antibodies are not the virus. The antibodies are the tools that we are using to fight the virus. So the COVID-19 vaccine has severe side effects such as allergic reactions. Anything can have an allergic reaction, from peanuts to shellfish to penicillin injections, etc. Yes, you can get an allergic reaction. However, it is not common, okay? It is extremely rare. And when we speak to allergic reactions in these vaccines, it is to the components of the vaccine. So if you are allergic to shrimp and peanut and penicillin and aspirin, you can and should take the vaccine because them things not in it. Those are not components of the vaccine. Of course, if persons have the severe reaction or what we call anaphylactic reaction after taking the first dose, then clearly they are not going to be given the second dose. And we spoke to natural immunity. As with other vaccines, in order to get natural immunity, you have to get the disease and you might have it. So we advocate for some assistance with artificial immunity. So if we look at vaccine statistics, and this is specific to COVID because that's where the challenge lies. 63.5% of the world have received a dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. 10.8 billion doses have been administered across the world. Remember some of the myths that the vaccine is going to change your DNA, you're going to become some different person and have some different tail and head. In the 10 billion persons, have we seen any change? Absolutely not, because the vaccines do one thing and one thing only: help us to make germ fighting tools. They do not affect our DNA in any shape or form. Right here in country, we have administered 1,377,476 doses of COVID-19 vaccines. That's 51% of the general population. For fully vaccinated, we have just over 660,000, which represents 24.5% of our population being fully vaccinated. The world have recognized that the vaccines that are produced are safe and effective. They simply prevent us from getting life-threatening diseases. They boost our immune response. The benefits of the vaccines in every shape and form outweigh any risk that persons may consider if they take the vaccines. Without vaccines, we know for sure that we would have many more injuries and deaths, persons with morbidities that last throughout their lives. We know that, again, the vaccines are safe and effective. Vaccines save up to 3 million lives every single year across the world. Now, that is the population. 3 million, that's the population of Jamaica. And you know how we little, but we tell our way everywhere. That's the amount of people that remain alive because of vaccines. In this current situation, vaccines will allow us to return to normal quickly, and it will allow our country, along with other countries who are having 60 and 70% vaccination coverage, to be able to open up our economies. So remember these diseases. We must make every effort to continue to forget them. We don't want any emergence. Excuse me, I reminded you that there are 2 re-emergence: polio in Malawi, yellow fever on the horizon. We don't want them to come back, certainly not in Jamaica, but we live in this global village. So it is for all of us to take precaution. We need to add some more diseases to the ones that we forget. Cervical cancer, we need to add that to the disease that we no longer have. We need to add Ebola to the disease we no longer have. And of course, we need to add COVID to the disease we no longer have. And we can only do that through vaccinating the population. So, ladies and gentlemen, vaccines really help to maintain this balance where we have healthy people who can travel, who have a work, who can socialize, picnic going to school, man can go drink a bar, churches are operational. We can celebrate the lives of our loved ones when they die. Yeah, everything that we consider normal for healthy people, vaccines help to maintain that balance. So our questions are: vaccines important? Are they really necessary? Can my body alone manage? Do they cause more harm than good? I think we can all say that vaccines are important, our bodies need help, and they certainly don't cause as much harm as any disease that they're trying to prevent. I want to thank you so very much. As we all get the facts on vaccines, we lessen our hesitancy. We continue to vaccinate in our childhood vaccination program, as well as vaccines throughout the life course, which includes adults getting COVID-19 vaccines, influenza vaccines, yellow fever vaccines, hepatitis vaccines, and all those that will help rid our world of diseases. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ennis, for such an informative presentation. I must say it was well put together and well received. I have learned a lot, and I'm sure our audience, both virtually and those present in the chapel, have also learned a lot. And I hope persons are convinced that it is important for us to take vaccines, especially the vaccine for the coronavirus, because Dr. Ennis has spent so much time to explain to us the importance of vaccines. Dr. Ennis, I need for you just for a little while to turn your attention to the chat. There are some questions that were posed in the chat, and my co-host, Venice, will guide you through the questions in the chat so that you can respond.
Sure.
Good afternoon, Dr. Ennis.
Hi.
How are you?
I am well.
Great to have you, ma'am. There is a question in the chat. What is the purpose of pneumococcal?
Oh, pneumococcal vaccine. So the pneumococcal vaccine helps to prevent infections of the respiratory tract, pneumonias, which can kill children and even adults. We also offer these vaccines to persons who are more vulnerable to infections, like our persons living with sickle cell disease. These persons, for example, don't have their spleens, which is one of the organs that help to churn out germ-fighting tools. So they have damage to their spleens, and sometimes we even surgically remove the spleens to ensure they stay alive. And therefore, they are predisposed or susceptible to organisms that can cause pneumonia and kill them. And we offer them the pneumococcal vaccine, as well as children in that vulnerable age. There is also a vaccine called meningococcal vaccine, which we offer to adolescents to prevent them from getting inflammation around the brain and spinal cord.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from our audience in the chapel.
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, rather. Good afternoon, Dr. Ennis. Thank you very much for a very comprehensive and informative presentation.
You're welcome.
Question is, you mentioned in the discourse that you give vaccine to healthy people. And I appreciate that, given my background. But how do you know that a person to whom you are giving the vaccine is healthy?
So it is healthy in the global sense of health. So if you are able to get up in the mornings and do what you normally do, and you do not consider yourself to be ill, then you are healthy and can receive the vaccine. So under no circumstance do we test persons prior to giving them the vaccine. When you're a newborn and you get your BCG, we expect that when you are delivered and you come out and you cry and we see eyes and ears and nose and your head circumference is okay and your length from head to foot bottom heel is okay, then you're healthy. And we stick you with the hepatitis B birth dose and we stick you with BCG because you're healthy. So even if you have an underlying condition, if you are diabetic, if you are hypertensive, you have cholesterol, and you are not any worse today, that means you're sick. So you're not having any dizziness, you're not having this, what you call it now, you're not urinating plenty, it is not different from your normal day, then you are considered healthy and can be given the vaccine.
Okay. Are there any more questions before we close off this session? Okay, we have a few questions if you're up for the questions, both for our online and our audience present here. And I'm going to try to make the questions as simple as possible. So my first question to you in the chapel, and then Venice will ask the question for those online, or she will type it in. What are 3 of the conditions for which vaccines are administered? So tell us 3 conditions that you more than likely will get a vaccine to treat. I have the show of hand out here first. Can you come up and give us the answer?
Polio, measles, and mumps.
Correct. Very good. We have no credit. Okay. We're out. Okay. Okay. All right. I found this question interesting. I don't know if I'm making it too hard for the online listeners, but what percentage of the world's population are fully vaccinated? Dr. Ennis gave us some statistics, that I found very interesting. She gave us a figure of, I think, 51%, Dr. Ennis, or something, that of persons who vaccines have been administered to. But then for persons who are fully vaccinated, she gave us a percentage. And I'm asking online users if you can type in that percentage, or the person who gets closest to it, we will acknowledge as the winner. And I will have a final question for my in-chapel listeners. Dr. Ennis spoke about the varieties or the different types of vaccines. I see somebody putting up their hand already. It's like school challenge quiz. Are you anticipating my question? If you answer it, you'll get a double prize. Go ahead. But if you're wrong, you're going to have to answer the question without any prize because you've preempted me. So what do you want to do? You'll wait? All right. So, she spoke of a particular type of in the pre-vaccination era, she spoke about the type of, should I say, diseases or infections, let me say infections, the conditions that cause death and those infectious, I don't want to say diseases, but you could say that. And we had this vaccine, MMM. So can you tell me, the first person who can tell me what MMM stands for? Is MMM? Oh, persons are answering in the chat too. So we will also acknowledge correct questions in the chat and give them. So MMR, sorry, it's MMR. I'm no medical person. So I have somebody down at the back. Can you come and tell me what MMR is? Because this is something that every Jamaican should know. I think it's one of our, the first set of vaccine. Okay, somebody in the chat got it right, but we will have somebody in the chapel.
MMR stands for measles, mumps, and rubella.
Correct. So you, Madam, we have flow credit. So that's all we have left. Will you be, okay, you're accepting a flow credit. All right.
So Jennifer, A.M. Clark, congratulations, you got it right as well. Measles, mumps, and rubella. And there's Evita Grinan as well. You all got it right. Right. So for the MMR, we have 2 winners online.
For the percentage of world population that is fully vaccinated.
Okay, and for Miss Clark, Jennifer, you also got it right.
She came closest.
Yes, you came closest to getting the answer correct for the percentage of the population, world population that is vaccinated. So we will send you your gift via direct message.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it was really a pleasure having you sharing with us in this health forum, and all good things must come to a close. We now invite our chair, our PR person for this forum, Dr. Carol Edwards, to come and give us a vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. I really feel such a joy in my heart now, having gone through all of this. And I think most of us have learned things that we didn't even know we didn't know, having heard the presentations this morning. So I want to begin by thanking as many of the people as possible as I can that helped us to put all of this together. And the first set of people I want to thank are our physical hosts. The Swallowfield Church has gone beyond the call of duty in hosting us this morning. Their technical team, the facilities, every single thing has been done to make us as comfortable as possible and to make us able to mount today's forum. So I want to begin, first of all, by calling on a representative from the church, Mrs. Rose Robinson Hall, and I believe she has some people that she called kingdom builders with her. I'd like to invite her to the stage so that we can tangibly express our appreciation for the assistance that the church has given us today. Observing COVID protocols, we won't shake hands. We will do our fist bump and ask you on behalf of the Soroptimist Club of Kingston to accept this in appreciation for hosting us today. Our pleasure. Thank you very much. Oh, you want us to do it again? Oh, this is a photo opportunity. Thank you very much to everybody. And there are other persons who helped us put on today's forum. I'd also like to thank our sponsors. We've had a number of sponsors. You know, we're offering medical services, dental services. And the people who have made this possible are the National Health Fund, first of all, MSN Pharmaceuticals, and the College of Oral Health Sciences at the University of Technology, you know, the dental school where we will provide the dental services that people will get after today. And thanks also to Food for the Poor, who facilitated us in a number of ways. We wouldn't have been able to do all of this without the presenters. And I want you to give another round of applause to our presenters for this morning. Dr. Melody Ennis, who we just heard, Dr. Lorraine Barnaby, and then our very first speaker, who was actually on site with us, Mrs. Binal Balachandar, I'm sorry, who really did an excellent job in helping us to understand how important portions in particular. I heard a number of persons expressing surprise when she spoke about the 1 banana versus the 4, you know, because we know how we like to eat. So I think she gave us a lot of information, a lot of food for thought, and I want to thank her and the other 2 presenters for the work that was done. Then our audience, both those of you who are here with us in person and our online audience. None of this would have happened if you hadn't taken the time to spend a little time with us today. We're very appreciative of that fact. It's a Saturday morning. We know how busy everybody is. So thank you very much for taking the time to come with us. And may I also thank our 2 chairpersons who ably guided us throughout the mornings and the afternoon's proceedings. It was our pleasure, and you made it a pleasure for us to go through this entire forum. So thanks to everybody. We couldn't have done it without you. We're really glad that you were able to come. As you heard earlier, we normally have a face-to-face health fair, and we've pivoted to the health forum because of COVID. We hope that by next year we can go back to our health fair, but if not, I think you would all agree that this is something that we could pursue as well. So clap, everybody. Thank you very, very much. Enjoy the rest of the day. Stay safe. For those of you who are not yet vaccinated, listen to what Dr. Ennis says, or if you know people who are not vaccinated, encourage them, because we all want to get back to normal. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Carol, for thanking all the persons who made this event possible. It is truly.
Just a moment. I've just been advised that we have some goodie bags that we're going to present to the persons who are physically here. You know, you have to get a little extra because you actually came to be with us. So as you're leaving, you will get a little goodie bag.
So Carol just stole our thunder. We were saving that for last. So anyway, yes.